All right, Peter. Thank you very much for leading us with word of prayer. My name's Paul Cito. I've been coming to Men's Frat since maybe a couple years ago, and then I dropped off for a year or two, and then I just started going again this season. I was hoping to give you a sense of what we're going to do today. So today we're talking about gospel character. First of all, I want you to get a chance to get to know me a little bit. Well, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us at Men's Frat. I'm kind of excited, actually, to be part of this and to be able to come this evening to speak. I love getting together with men because I find that we always get beat up at home, we get beat up at work, we get beat up by our kids, and sometimes we get beat up by our spouses, if you will. And it's good for us to have a place that I find that we can just nourish, refresh, and recharge each other, because I find that that's one way for us to be able to bond and to kind of show some brotherhood. So, and also, I find that I just get excited when men can get together. There's just so many things that we can share about, and just a chance to do so today is great. So, so my background, let me see here. I was born in Hong Kong, raised in San Francisco, came to the United States when I was 4 years old. I went to Lowell High School, went to Berkeley, and then got my MBA afterwards at SF State. Got a on-campus interview at the bank, and then the bank, there has a few job offers, and then one of them was a bank, and I figured, maybe I can learn something and maybe get a higher pay. So I went ahead and worked at a bank, and 30 years later, who would have known I would still be at bank. So I work at a bank currently, lending. I at one time worked for an insurance company, wanted to know what it was like to be on the other side, see what's up, is the grass greener. So I worked for an insurance company for 5 years in financial planning and forecasting. And then I also worked at one time for the city of Millbrae. I actually worked as a city council member and a mayor for the city of Millbrae about 10 years ago. And excellent experience. So it's kind of interesting to see what's it like. And it's been a while since I've been up on the podium again, although I used to do it quite often before. I have two kids, 19 and 21. They're both in college. One's over in Irvine. The other one just recently graduated from San Diego, UC San Diego. Wife that I've been married to for about 25 years now. Same woman. I was going steady with her about 7 years before I actually tied a knot. She always asked why you wait so long. I said, I'm a guy. I just sometimes, I just don't know any better. So I just kind of roll with the flow, So let me see. So that's my background. I really don't know what else to add to that. But I want you to know what God sees. Okay. So this is the interesting part. So what does God see? God sees a person that was depressed for about 4 to 5 years. When I was growing up, there was a time in my life where some friends and church, and people I was really close to just kind of pulled aside, pulled away. And I thought, what's going on here, And that's when I just got married, trying to reestablish a new household. And then I thought, wow, man, this is kind of cruel. But anyways, so it got me down for a number of years. I have a sister who's schizophrenic. Never thought it would happen. Happened about 10, 12 years ago. Still kind of work through it now. My mom, she has dementia, Alzheimer's now too. So I spend 1 day a week just taking care of her and just keeping her company, doing things, hanging out with her. I've been going to church for about 40 years, so it's not I'm not religious or anything. I mean, I've been going to church like maybe perhaps many of you. I think my life is short. I have a lot of physical ailments. Surprisingly, because I used to play a lot of sports, and I thought, man, I'm in good shape. What I mean is that I had a sudden hearing loss about maybe 3 years ago when I turned 50. All of a sudden, I was at work, and all of a sudden, I said, I couldn't hear. It felt like I'm underwater. And then later, I have no recognition on my left ear. Very few people know that I have an aneurysm. Happened I discovered about a year and a half ago. They were trying to fix it, couldn't fix it. So he said, your chances of fixing it is probably higher of something going wrong than you just keeping it and just taking your chances. So I thought, I'll just take my chances then. So my wife is concerned that my life would be short, okay? Because I have all the odds going against me. And I think some of you guys were witnesses here when I had a vertigo attack. And I was like, I was just out. And, this whole week I've been fighting this kind of dizziness and seeing doctors and everything. So I have fears that my life would be short. And that, but that's how God knows me. I have fears that my kids, something will happen to them. I sometimes worry about them. And God knows that too. At the same time, I think God realizes that I come across as having it together sometimes, but it's not really necessarily true. And I think that sometimes I find that when you just kind of share and talk to other people, you find that, sometimes they have issues too. And we're all just human beings, a bunch of guys, band of brothers, if you will, that comes together and just kind of share in our own groups and have some confidentiality and just being able to be ourselves for one day a week. Because as I said, we get beat up so much. Because we're men, we're men, we're tough, and that'll come in handy later because as leaders of our household, I think many of us will have to kind of take on the challenges. And I see many of us here probably have life experiences for a while that we kind of have some experiences under our belt, good and bad. And I don't think I'm the only one that kind of gone through some bad things here and there or have some hopes and joy that others have too. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that. What I want to do is our passage today is on Galatians 15, 13 to 25. And if you were here last week, I guess Frank mentioned about laws, and we've been studying that for this whole season. And I think Frank, last week when Frank spoke, he summarized it well. Jesus plus anything else is legalism. And, one thing, I was raised in a very relatively conservative church. And there's a verse in James that talks about faith without action is dead. So I was kind of grew up in that kind of setup. And then when I hear about this, it's like, wow, so freeing that, you don't have to come dressed up when you speak. You don't have to come dressed up at church. You don't have to come and kind of watch your words. You don't have to, feel guilty over things that you should feel fine about. Whether it's gray areas, when I say gray areas, talking about maybe dancing or maybe swearing or maybe gambling, drinking, So anyways, so we have some freedom. So we're going to talk about that because our freedom is kind of what Frank said, that, we have this freedom. But then the question that now comes to, and it's coming to a head now, is what do we do with that freedom? So we're going to start talking about that area. So I'm just going to read from the passage here so that we're all on the same page, and I'll stop intermittently so that we can kind of go over some things that I thought we can kind of talk, share. I'm starting with verse 13 here. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. A couple of things. It talks about love your neighbors as yourself. I was just thinking to myself, and as I said, these are very seasoned people here. If we loved our neighbors as ourselves and we're honest about it, I think that all of us would be driving a similar cars. Okay, so I can trade in my 1996 Toyota Corolla for your Lexus or your Tesla next to me, right? Because you're loving yourself as your neighbors as yourself. But that's not the case, right? So we don't do that truly. Okay. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other too. So with this freedom that we have, not having to live under the law, we have this freedom, free reign, especially here in America. I find that we have maybe too much freedom. But I think that we have this flexibility to be who we are and to be what we want to be out of our free will and choice. So when Jesus Christ died on the cross, he gave us this choice. We can choose to follow or we can choose not to. It's a choice. And that choice is the same as freedom. What do? Do we obligatory just go along and say, and go along with how things are given to us, the rituals, let's say on a Sunday? Or do we have this flexibility to do what we want to do? And they're saying you can do what you want to do as long as you have Jesus Christ and you accept him as your personal Savior. Now, when I talk about this, you bite and devour each other, watch out or you will be destroyed by each other. My interpretation, what goes around comes around, all right? That means that if we're going to try to love each other because Jesus Christ is sacrificed himself and that we should be humbly serving and loving each other, we should. But we're not perfect, so we tend to sometimes fall short of that. So just be careful. When we do things, sometimes what goes around comes around. And then sometimes when it comes around, and then you realize, oh, I thought when I did it, maybe it wasn't so bad, but when it comes back to you, then maybe it's not such a good idea, right? I'm going to continue on verse 16. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. And in this area, we're talking about two separate things, spirit and the flesh. All right, what do we have up there? Okay, so we have the spirit and the flesh. And they're fighting with each other. Two separate dichotomies, two separate areas coming at each other, the spirit and the flesh. So we call it the fruits of the Spirit or the acts of the flesh. You can't have it both ways. There's one way or the other, all right? Somebody has to be in charge. And what we're experiencing sometimes is that, my personal desires might be different from what God's desire may be. So if we're fighting with each other, how do we reconcile that? Well, the simple answer is, we go by the Spirit, right? And we're going to talk about the fruits of the Spirit. But if we go by the Spirit then, but we have these temptations, these things that comes along in our own personal lives, that sometimes we ourselves are tempted, that we just either maybe on a weekday, when we're in our weakness, or maybe something that we saw on the internet, or somebody said something to you that you just want to retaliate. It could be a lot of different things. But the question is, do you struggle with it? Do you struggle with trying to do what's right, with the Spirit, with your conscience, with what you're trying to be more of like Jesus Christ? Or do we just kind of let it go and say, hey, look, payback time, or is it something that we just kind of go along with and don't even think about it? Do we struggle with it? That's the question. So do we say, okay, maybe I shouldn't have gotten so upset? Or do we even think about it? Do you think about it? I know for me, I sometimes get upset about things easily. Other times, I'm in a great mood. And other times, I feel, that maybe that wasn't fair. But do we struggle with it? Do we try to allow and take that one step back, but maybe hopefully 2 steps forward, and try to live according to what Jesus Christ would want us to live like? Do we struggle with that? That's the question. So they continue on verse 19. The acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity and debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. So in this area, they talk about the acts of the flesh. Let me see here. I think we roll to the next one. I think maybe might have it. Does it have it? Oh, yeah, here we go. All right. So the acts of the flesh, I broke it down into 4 areas. Sexuality, which includes immorality, impurity, and debauchery. Religious, which is idolatry and witchcraft. Personal relationships, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissension, factions, and envy, right behind me. And then there's the last piece, like excessive drinking or alcohol, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. So I don't have time to talk about all areas, but I'll talk one area that I think we can all relate to, which is sexuality. We're men, right? So I can joke around with you, and hopefully you don't take me so seriously. I used to think, wow, there's only one me, and there's so many women. There's so many ladies out there, and there's only one me. And I say to my wife, man, you're lucky, But of course, she said, I'm lucky, right? Because, she said yes to me, right? So sexuality, I thought that when I get married, it'll go away. The lust, that second look. And you know what I mean by second look, right? I thought that would go away. I don't think it'll go away. I'm like married 25 years now. I don't think it'll go away until I'm horizontal, and maybe 6 feet under. And, I still catch myself with that second look. I'll be brutally honest. When I go on the internet, sometimes I'm like, oh, there's some gossip rumors out here. I go take a look at it. I don't indulge in it, but I'm curious. If we're honest with ourselves, I think many of us kind of have that struggle that goes on periodically, if not routinely. The question is, again, do we go back and try to combat it, or do we just let the flesh act this way out and just say, I lost, I've lost control here. I just have no strength to fight back anymore. That's the question. Religious, it just means talk about idolatry, which is really quickly things that you might have a love for besides God as your primary and most important reasons. It could be money, it could be sex, it could be fame, power, right? Personal relationships. I'll talk about two that's kind of coincide, which people don't get too much of. But I share with you because I figure you're more seasoned people, we're more experienced, we kind of live life enough that we know what I'm saying. The two that I want to talk about is jealousy and envy. You think, why you want to talk about jealousy and envy? And I'm thinking, I heard somebody say that in America, if we were not envious or jealous, we would be a lot more happier people. And that's because my neighbor has this nice house with that new BMW, that the moonroof, that the whole thing slides open, and they have this nice house with like 3,000 square feet. And they have a job that they can come in and out, and they're the boss telling people what to do instead of being told what to do all the time. They travel when they want to and don't have to when they don't need to. Can write a check whenever they feel like instead of save up. Wow, man, But that's what drives our economy. It's all around us. That envy and that jealousy is what sometimes gets us in trouble. Is that putting that priority ahead of things that we shouldn't be? The funny thing and the reason I say envious is this. I find myself, you guys don't know very much about me. I just told you a snapshot of what I'm like. But there's a lot of things that you don't know about me, good and bad. We, as people, sometimes like to tell people how successful we are and how well we're doing. And truly, honestly, deep inside, we've lived long enough to know that that's not how it's always the case. I haven't seen a perfect couple yet. I haven't. When I see something that comes across and they give me this good image of what they're like, I say, oh, something's wrong. Because they're hiding something. There is something wrong. Because I've seen too much. And you've probably seen too much too. But just keep that in mind. Sometimes when I'm on a bad day or a bad moment and somebody's just kind of testing my limits here, I would intentionally tell them how well I'm doing, just to throw them off. Just to let them kind of squirm and say, oh, you're competing with me. And I'm going to tell you this just so that you don't feel as good as you think you feel. Because you want what I want. That's not the fruit of the Spirit. That's more of the act of the flesh. I admit it. I do it, but I don't do it very often. And I try not to do it at all. Excessive drinking and alcohol. A week ago, I went to a Higher Power over at the CPC. Let me see, I'm running out of time here. So I went to Higher Power CPC over in Foster City. I went out there, checked it out, and then this lady gave her testimony about her addiction to bulimia and alcohol and then drugs, and that all kind of coming together for her for about 40 years. I said, oh, wow, what a terrible life she must have had for those 40 years. And these people are addicted. I mean, geez, they're willing to die for that addiction, that kick, that way to forget. If you're in that area, man, be careful, because you can just spiral out of control, and it takes you a long time to spiral back out. Just be careful, all right? I want to talk now, I want to just continue on and read the last piece here, starting with verse 22 here. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. So here we have the fruits of the Spirit. Let's see here. We can flip to that slide. Is it up yet? Oh, here we go. So the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, and peace. There's another slide we have here, too, the fruits of the Spirit. Right before this one. Yeah, there we go. So love, joy, and peace is our relationship with God. Okay? I kind of broke it down so it'll be kind of something we can apply to and kind of summarize, because I don't remember that much that well anymore. So is our relationship with God. And then forbearance, kindness, and goodness is relationship with others. And then the self-relationship, which is ourselves, our faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And like first, I just talked about things that I'll just take an example out of. So relationship with God, I chose joy. And the reason I chose joy, which is I would not have normally brought that up, is because I think my life will be cut short. And I bring up joy because every moment, whether I have a traffic ticket or whether I'm standing here in front of you or I'm laughing my head off with somebody else or I'm just kind of swinging it out at work, I count it joy because God has just given me this blessing to being alive. And that regardless of the experience, I want to be able to really just celebrate that joy I have. The funny thing is, one time I was driving back from work, and then somebody cut me off, and I said, oh, man, I'm going to try. It's kind of hard with 96 Corolla, okay, but you can gradually kind of speed up and kind of cut them off. But I thought to myself, what's the deal here? And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to laugh it off because, I have this joy in my life that somebody can cut me off and and that I'm okay. That really brought back home because, simple things like that. Relationship with other people, forbearance. My sister, I told you, is schizophrenic, and she's not as educated as I was, and then she had a lot of problems growing up. She was a black sheep in the family. I tell you, I had to kind of, between her and my Alzheimer's mom, I had to tell things over and over again in so many different ways, and very patiently, and just kind of walking them through it, almost like a kid. So forbearance. Just being patient with people, putting with things that maybe you catch, but maybe somebody else wasn't as fortunate as you were, is being able to just be patient, just be willing to listen more and maybe talk less, not be judgmental and just kind of be okay with it. Self-worth relationship, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Self-control. Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. I think if I can control everything that I can do or say, I wouldn't be here. I'll be probably rich and famous or that. But I think that's one area that all, if not most of us, struggle with. Self-control. whether it's eating, or pornography, or women, or sex, or drugs, or maybe money, or even what you say sometimes. Can you control your tongue? Or things that you pissed off people, or sometimes relationships that are messed up because you didn't do the right thing at the right time, or misunderstanding. So these are the harvests of the Spirit: our relationship with God, relationship with others, and our self-worth relationship, meaning ourselves. Learn to those 3 areas. We wrote some questions for you so that we can kind of share later on in your small group, and that just kind of prepped a little bit. Before we do so, though, we're going to do something kind of techie, all right? I'm usually not so techie because I'm not good at it. But we're going to have a test, all right? So see how much you guys remember what I said. But it's actually a survey. Right? I don't want to test you guys. It's not a real test. It's a survey. So what's going to happen is everybody got your cell phone. Here, take out your cell phone. Here, let me see. Everybody get your cell phones. Raise it up here. And then he'll put the instructions. You see the instructions? All right? Get your cell phone. All right, go on the website, Kahoot.it, spelled that way up. You see it? KAHOOT.IT. All right? And then we're going to put up a number there that you can register onto. All right? So let me see. Everybody raise. Who doesn't have a cell phone? I have 2 extra ones here they can use.
Can they take it home afterwards?
Does everybody have one? Really? I'd like you guys to have one. For the ones that don't, just come up and please, you can use mine. Everybody good? Yes. I understand if you have, T-Mobile, you might have. Can we show the site? Okay. You guys punch in Kahoot.it. You guys see that number up there, 464-8539? I'm going to do it right now, okay? I'll pull up on my cell. I want you guys to pull up your cell phone. Go ahead. I'm serious. Who wants to use this phone? Anybody? Okay. So I'm punching in right now. All right. So you see all the people sign up? Okay, we have 17 players, 18 players, 19. You see it? Right? Okay. So we have 25. I see like maybe 30 people here, 40 people. How will we get 30, 35? How's that? Anybody else? Okay, all right, good. I'm the Hulk. That's my favorite superhero, all right? So now we're going to start a game, all right? We're going to test the questions you have, but we'll give you some warm-up questions first, all right? So all of a sudden, what's going to happen is that we punch in, we enter our answer, and then afterwards, the survey will show up, what the best guess answer and who voted what, all right? So if you mostly everybody logged in, everybody had any problems with it? All the techies, the millennials, we can help the older guys. Everybody okay? All right. If you're ready, we're going to go ahead and start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so your age. Wait, we don't have sound here. Here we go. All right, you got 15, 13, 12 seconds, okay? And these are just warm-ups here, okay? We'll check it out. Well, that special one person, huh? Right. Why do you attend men's frat? You guys getting the hang of it? You guys okay? Can you guys say, am I in your way? All right, so most of us wants to share with our brothers here, right? right? One person here for the food. We always have one person now. Everybody okay? Everybody with their surveys still? We're pretty good still?
Making these questions too hard, Paul.
This is the warm-up. You guys doing okay still? Can you guys read that? It's okay. What do we have? A relationship with other people. That's good.